Man, I'll tell you, I'm back in my normal seat, but I got to shake off a little ring rust. Back-to-back days where I started the afternoon meeting off, at least on social media, on mute. I believe I'm good to go now. So great to see all of us in Cyber Group. Great to see all of us on social media. And we're good to go. So let's hop into it. I don't have class coming up later today, but I will be talking to James coming up in a coaching session. So I want to make sure I'm good to go for that. But we could talk about the APVO trade to begin. It's obviously still pushing up over 200% at this point. I'm not going to give the full Traders Talk edition analysis of this trade, although we didn't have a chance to cover this in Traders Talk, our weekly workshop earlier in the morning. But this one ended up popping practically as we were finishing up anyway. It took a long while to get the gears going on this trade. That being said, I do want to point something out. One thing I will make mention of. Well, two things I'll make mention of. And this is really just taken directly from the daily chart. So, first thing, look at the daily chart dating back to October and the beginning of November of this year. I mean, practically, I could put the line at 14, really. 14, 1410 ish. Pretty damn strong support. Well, that creates a pretty damn strong resistance. This is where the APVO trade topped off early in the pre-market hours, right? Right off that historical support became historical resistance, and the rest really speaks for itself. The second it broke it, all bets were off. But otherwise, the other thing I wanted to show, pretty interesting, again, from the daily chart, low back from last week, 950 on the 15th, the 16th, 940, the 17th, 940. So I'll tell you what, 940 also seemed to be a relatively decent level to watch, at least from the daily chart. So it didn't bottom out exactly at 940, mind you, but broke under 940. It broke under 9 for a brief moment. Once it broke back over 9, and then namely here 940, you could see it held it as support like it did previously from the week before. And from there, took off. So for right now, we're going to easily put this on our main watch list. It's easy for us to put this on our watch list. It's not an easy trade. This is not an easy trade whatsoever, folks. Granted, hey, if you ended up buying right off the breakout here, you were looking pretty good. Much easier to say in hindsight, right? But the spreads are huge. The liquidity is extremely thin. So for right now, this stock, I mean, definitely going to put it on our list as it should be, but I would look for more of the false breakouts like we were talking about in the Traders Talk workshop from earlier today. All right. There we go. Right on time, RJF. We knew we'd get you there on the ISPC trade. Of course, ISPC, another big mover that we had from this morning. Now, let me rewind the clock back 24 hours ago. All of our call outs, folks, for all of us on YouTube, social media, like RJF, who regularly attends our meetings on social media, all of our call outs, our lists are meant as day trades. They are not meant as swing trades overnight. RJF, if you held overnight, congratulations. You're looking really good then, of course, at this point, still with it pulling back a bit now towards 14. But at least going into the afternoon yesterday, from 2:30 onward, we did not get that second win type of move. That being said, of course, we are going to follow up with this stock regardless of how it did overnight heading into this morning. Of course, that being said, overnight, this thing completely exploded again, ended up breaking over 850 and 9. From there, took all the way off up towards 16. So, if you ended up holding on, you were the big winner here. But of course, we're going to keep the focus on this stock heading into the morning today. Unfortunately, though, it popped, it dropped, it got halted. And usually when a stock gets halted on the way down, that's sheets. That's a wrap. That's game over. I really mean it that way too. What I mean by that officially is to say that, really for the next couple of hours, really a few hours at a minimum, you wouldn't really look to try and buy the stock. It's more likely to continue to drag down, consolidate. So that's what happened. Well, it ended up pulling back down pretty nicely. And we talked about this part to an extent in Traders Talk, but, the stock ended up essentially pulling all the way back down to not just from the after hours yesterday, but from here, where it got halted from actually yesterday. 1170, I think, was a big print level. And then also $11.20. Those were two big volume based price levels that we had from yesterday morning. Well, pretty interesting how it plays out. Ended up basically kissing that 1120, popped right back over the 1170. I'm talking about right here prior to 12. And then from there, completely took off. So, that was the trade to take on the ISPC stock from today, at least. Hey, very, volatile right now. The order book is so thin, much like the APVO. APVO, I'm pretty reluctant on putting on our list, but of course, with it at the highs, that's the main reason why we would. The ISPC, I would just kind of put on the side list for right now, RJF. It wouldn't shock me if it ends up making another pop, and if so, we'll call it out. But I want to see if there's easier moves. Easier. We don't need to trade the craziest stock, in the world to make money. The name of the game is to make money. So if there's a stock looking a lot easier on the eyes, or at least a stock that provides an opportunity and has a more liquid order book, then I'm going to be more jumpy to that. So, we'll come back to ISPC if we need to. RGF, you're in from 14? All right, cool. We'll check back in at least on that stock at the very end. One other I did want to jump to rather quick. I actually got out of this one right before we started the meeting. I didn't want to be a jerk and join the meeting here with me in the trade, only to have it drop right back down. But I called the stock out right before I started. Inside Cybergroup, I was calling it out, folks. The LGVN trade under and over from 15. I ended up scalping it essentially for 50 cents, but I got in and out right from 15 to 15.50. And right now, I guess it's trying to inch back up. But this stock from yesterday afternoon ended up making such a big drop off this morning. I was looking for that dead cat bounce, and we got a little bit here. Perhaps I could have even held on a bit longer. But again, much like the ISPC stock, I'll come back to this Lagavulin if I need to. Of course, I joke around with the name Lagavulin, the Scotch whiskey. It's Long Everin. So, LGVN, if we need to come back to this, we will. All right, so otherwise, APVO already on our main list. KTTA was, very good to us while it lasted. Ended up making a nice pop at the time the market opened up. But the bigger talking point, again, much like, the others, the APVO, the ISPC, both of them. This ended up pulling back down towards the opening bell print price today. A few occasions, more than just once. The first time's the best time. So right here would have been the best attempt to see that hold as support. The opening bell print price off 610. But man, it gave us like two separate other attempts at this thing. Ended up breaking under and over right from the 610 level here as we were concluding traders talk. And, from there, it moved up pretty nicely. The volume began to die off, and this stock started to come back down and chop around a bit. So, not as keen to put this on the main watch list for the afternoon, at least not yet. We'll move on from this stock for right now. If it ends up making a pop once we finish the meeting, then we'll reconsider. But if it's not going to break higher here, where my cursor is, at least at the time, there's only one other way it's going to go. And you could say the same on the flip side, but we'll come back to this if we need to. All right, so with all that, let's just keep going from top to bottom. QLGN, another stock from the morning watch list that we had today. Again, like the APVO, it took a while to get the gears going on this. Ended up making a big pop right before 12 p.m. Eastern time. Ended up essentially snapping back over 2, and then from there it took off. So beautiful runner, QLGN. Not even from 2, you could even say from like a 180, 175 all the way up towards just about 315. Again, right now, just very choppy. Tight range. This has a good order book. I like that part. It's cheap, but showing no direction. And I feel like that could be the theme here so far this afternoon, just because prior to us doing this meeting, we were talking about that. Again, the LGVN under and over, APVOs at the highs. Obviously, that's on our list already, but we'll see what else we got. I saw a chuck all over this VLON stock, or maybe you had one trade on that, the other two on APVO. But yeah, this one had a lot of life to it heading into the early afternoon. Ended up just dropping off quite a bit, making a lower high right now. In fact, maybe if that kind of fills in more, that's like a bit of a head and shoulders. You could even count that as even elongated left shoulder, the right shoulder kind of counting here. And I don't know. I mean, it's kind of on its way back down. Thin volume on the book here for right now. So again, if I need to come back to it, I will. Been saying that the whole time, but really, hey, we want to cherry pick. We want to find the best opportunities. So if there's something I'm more uncertain of than certain of, then don't need to put it on our list just yet. Now, this at least is a former runner, a known name for us here inside Cybergroup. Noro and URO, just look at the daily chart. It speaks for itself. So, on those days where it made those big spikes and runs, we were there to capitalize on it. And for right now, this is actually holding pretty strong. It's up 17+%. Yes, it does have thin volume on the book, but not every stock's going to have a consistently tight penny spread. So, at least for right now, I don't mind slipping this on our main list. Noro, you've seen this stock make a huge pop in the past, and I'll say this here, like I always say, if we can have a fraction of the run like we had back from late July, then that's a home run hit. And I guarantee you I said that on days like September 23rd and days like from like, August 27th. So, if we can get a fraction of this type of run from, back here from late July, then I'd be really happy. All right, we keep it going. MTCR, let me zoom out here. This doesn't look like the best chart, but yeah. All right. MNOV, this one kind of rings a bell. Has been a pop in the past. Not a whole lot happening right now. Ah, damn, my scanner's refreshed on me right now. Well, go right back to Noro. That's still pushing up at least. I meant to click on BTU. This stock we've been following for quite some time now, and really just from yesterday, it ended up making a nice little move up after the market opened up. For right now, just kind of choppy. Not a whole lot to write home about on this chart. Oh man, this is a drag so far. At least after the Noro, after the APVO stock, it's been a big drag. XL, at least from earlier today. Shout out to Gary V inside Cyber Group. He killed it on the short without me, unfortunately. I shorted it earlier in the morning, but right place, wrong time. Then the next time where it broke below the same level I'd originally entered from, it made this giant drop back down. So it was a great trade, but nonetheless, right now, not a whole lot happening. That seems to be the case across the whole gainers list otherwise. I don't really see any other familiar names. Bitfarms, maybe. Yeah, it's at the highs. It's not a Bitcoin day for me, so I'm not going to go over Bitcoin itself, but maybe we'll check out the other Bitcoin mining affiliated stocks, Riot, Mara, etc. Riot not nearly close to its highs. Mara, same thing. I am still swinging BTBT, folks. I didn't mention that I got out. I'm still in on that. I didn't average down again, but I may look to average down just once I happen to see more traction on Bitcoin going back up. Now, going back to Bitfarms, BITF, this one's actually looking all right. It's up over 8%. It's at the highs. Relatively inexpensive liquid order book. It'd be hard for me to not put this on our list. We only have 2 on there so far, so we'll see if there's anything doing on this BITF trade. At least I'll put this on the main list, and then otherwise we'll just go across the loser side for right now. Sheesh, what the hell happened here? I didn't even notice this. SOPA down 70%. New IPO, all-time lows, of course, with that in mind. Essentially ended up making the under and over right from 10. So sucks I missed out on that. Just has such thin volume on the book right now. It's more of a gamble than anything at this point. 10 would have been the level in theory to try and look for that bounce, but volume's so thin on the book. Unless if you're trying to gamble, then we should probably be moving on to other stocks. All right, back to Lagavulin here. Again, I joke around with that, not the Scotch whiskey. I know that, but I didn't really miss much by getting out where I did. That's fine. Ooh, GENI, about a $9 stock, down over 30%. I guess that's also trying to make a small squeak back up from its low, like 908, 910 level. Order book looks better on this at least. I don't know what the hell this stock is. I guess a relatively new IPO also. Oh no, not that new. Zoom out there. It is shortable at least, so that's the more interesting part. And with this at all-time lows, I like this. This is pretty interesting at least. So even if we don't end up, taking a trade on this over the next hour, as of right now, this is one of the more interesting plays. Damn, zoom down 16+%. When you talk about stocks that are so expensive, and if you know that you're not going to trade it, then you just don't let it be a distraction to you. I didn't even look at Zoom up until right now, this very moment. So, I knew they had down earnings, but I'm not going to let this thing be a distraction to me. I'm going to miss out on a much better trade. But obviously, took a huge hit today. If you're buying puts, and you're a big winner right now, but yeah, for right now at least, I don't know. Not a whole lot to really talk. Not a whole lot to write home about on this trade, really. ANF down presumptively off earnings too. Not going to care to check. Pretty flat for a $40 stock right now. All right, folks, I think that just about wraps it up for me across the gainers and losers lists. If there's anything else that you see up, down, left, right, more than 5%, then feel more than free to type it in the chat boards. Let us know. Noro keeps going, so there really isn't much of a need to go anywhere else when this thing's just rocking. Take it. All right, going once, going twice, going three times. I think that we're just about good, folks. I don't see anything on YouTube or Facebook. Don't see anything else remaining from the trading room, and that's fine. Don't need to force anything else on our watch list here. But hey, if there's anything else that we see around 3 o'clock or 3:10 Eastern time, when Rich jumps back on the mic, we'll look to rescan the market a lot more, seriously at that point. Norman says hard to get into Noro, probably trade other stocks. Just got to be patient with it. Just got to be patient with it. I mean, this was the first test of resistance at 8. No, first test, false breakout. We talked about that, a couple hours ago in Traders Talk. So just got to be patient with it. That's all, folks. But with that in mind, I think we're going to wrap it up here for right now. So for all of us in social media, Facebook Live, I appreciate you sticking with me each and every day, each and every afternoon. If you're interested in learning more about what we do here at Cyber Trading University, you got two options. Number one, if you're just looking to send over a quick question, email right over to me. Feel more than free to do so. Post my email address on the stream right there, josh@ctutrading.com. Otherwise, though, if you're looking to join us live inside our trading room, continue the audio commentary that we'll have across the next hour and 15 minutes, feel more than free to do so by going right down to the link on the banner below the stream, that being cybertradinguniversity.com/trial, just to join. For all of us there right now, Norman, James, Gary, Chuck, James will be talking to you pretty shortly. I look forward to speaking to all of you coming up later on today. Take care.